There is no way the Thunder actually managed to pull this off, and I'm talking about one-upping their 2025 season. After winning a franchise record 68 games and the team's first title with the league's most valuable player, OKC will shoot for the stars again next season. Today we're going to go over exactly how good last year's squad was, where the room for improvement in this roster lies, and some more facts about last year's team. But before we get into that, I just want to say real quick, Gabriel Ebersole here with Thunder Digest. We've hit our goal of 6,000 subscribers, yet 68% of you guys watching are not subscribed. We're trying to hit 7,000 subscribers by the end of the month, so help us do that. Me and Bryson are trying to keep you guys up to date with all things OKC this offseason. I'm talking about trades, signings, free agency, hopefully no more injuries, but anything OKC basketball, we've got you covered all here in one spot. Make sure you're subbed up so you don't miss a beat. Without any further ado, let's take a look at this Sports Illustrated article that is in question today. Styles point, believe it or not, the Thunder will be better next season. The Oklahoma City Thunder are hoping to repeat as NBA champions, and despite having a more quiet offseason, the Thunder actually got better this summer. It could line up for another historic season in Bricktown. Now, we're taking a look at a couple facts off this piece right away. First off, we're going to start with the more quiet offseason thing that was mentioned. Yes, the Thunder did bring back much of their roster, the team that, once again, we saw make the run to the title. We want a team to have a little bit of tweaks here and there, not too much, but a lot of roster turnover for a team that was able to get the job done. We see here that the Thunder's 15 players on standard contracts returned 14 members from that title team, with first-round pick from last year's draft, Dillon Jones, being the only departure, as the Bricktown Ballers shipped the 2024 NBA Draft first-round pick to Washington to make room for the number 15 pick in this year's NBA Draft, Thomas Sorber, to join Oklahoma City's title defense force. So, like we saw here, a lot of the same guys coming back. We even have a guy in two-way role, Brendan Carlson, returning, and then we have like we saw the 14 guys. So 15 of the 18 players that are featured on this team were here to win that ring last year. They're here to try to help defend it and bring another one back to the land, keep the Larry O'Brien in Oklahoma. So I'm okay with the lower amount of roster turnover, the lower amount of activity from Sam Presti and the guys, especially with the team locked down. We did what was really needed. We got the big three inked to extensions. We got two more team-friendly deals done with Jay Will and AJ Mitchell this offseason. So a pretty solid offseason from this team. Now, we're taking a look at how they were able to get the job done last year, right? This is one of the best teams of all time that the Thunder are going to be looking to top coming into next season, right? A team that had the best point differential for the regular season in NBA history, 12.9 average point differential per game across the 82-game regular season. This team dominated teams on a nightly basis, didn't lose a lot in close contests because they weren't in them, and they ran away with games a lot early on in the contest, right? And we saw that provided throughout the playoffs as well. This is a team that had an 11.9 average point differential regular season and playoffs combined. They had the highest gross point differential in NBA history, regular season and playoffs, and then they are one of the top 5 teams just point differential in the playoffs. So a team that was able to continue a good bit of their dominance through the postseason run, even considering they were taken to 7 games twice in 2 out of the 4 rounds. They were able to stack big wins pretty often in the playoffs and keep teams out of games early. And we see this because this team was a team that specialized in the art of the knockout, is what I like to call it. This was a knockout team in Oklahoma City, a team that could put you out quickly, and we see it right here. Don't blink, because this team last year had the most 10-0 scoring runs in a single season, 107 of those in the regular season and playoffs combined, the most since it's been started getting tracked in the play-by-play era dating back to 97-98. This team was making big runs they were knocking you out in the face, putting away 48-minute basketball games in 12-minute spans is what this team specialized in doing. Because when you take a look at the exact 12 minutes, the quarter, this team had the art of dominating the quarter down to a T. This was a team that killed with mercy, took teams out of the game very quickly, very painlessly. A team that won 48 quarters by 15 or more points, the most in NBA history. And something they continued doing through the playoffs well was dominating in these short spurts, these periods. 11 postseason quarters, they won by 15 plus. Also good enough for the most in NBA history. Now, when we take a look at why this team has room to improve, something that Styles said that I do agree with, however, is that we see the 3 reasons why Oklahoma City will improve is because their 2025 playoff run was B tier. I do agree with this. We see up top. However, it doesn't feel like a bold prediction to proclaim that the Thunder will be better in the 25-26 campaign than they were in the 24-25 season that ended with a championship. And like we see, the top reason is because the playoff run was a B tier. And I agree with this. What do I point to agree with this? This is something that I've said before on this channel. A team that in the regular season, across an 82-game sample size and 30 teams to go against, number 6 in three-point percentage, shot the ball at an elite mark in the regular season from downtown. However, in the playoffs, the team's sample size cut in half down to 16. This team placed 13th in three-point percentage, under 34% from the three-point line. A lot of their guys they were relying on to hit threes were pretty streaky in the playoffs at best. Like a guy like Isaiah Joe shot over 40%, but he was pretty streaky. Dort had a good percent, but he was also pretty hot and cold on and off throughout the playoffs. We need more consistency out of the shooting spot next year. Rylan Stiles thinks that the Thunder will be able to provide that in the playoffs, and that's one of the reasons that he thinks the next year's team will be better. I wholeheartedly agree with this reason. I've said in the past that I agree with this process that the Thunder need to be a better shooting team moving forward in the playoffs. It was one of their weakest points down the stretch of last year. But like I said, they have the players. We saw it in the regular season sample size that they can shoot the basketball, and they instill confidence in that moving forward. It looks like less likely that they're going to move Isaiah Joe in some part of a deal. They're going to keep him around as a shooter. They're going to keep Dort sparking from behind the line, a guy who shot 44% at home on over 6 attempts, and a guy who shot in the 30s on the road in less attempts, down to 5 attempts. So a guy who was very dependent on where he was letting it fly from. But nonetheless, this team has the tools to get the job done. We saw it last year, but they also have the room to improve. And that's what Styles is seeing right here. Nonetheless, this team has to have some things out of their control go their way, in my opinion, right? Because when we take a look, I think this is something that needs to be acknowledged. The Thunder won the 1 seed by the most games in NBA history, a team that wrapped up the 1 seed with about a month left, ahead 16 games by the end of it. So that really speaks to the levels ahead of the field they were. The West was regarded as the deeper conference coming into the playoffs for sure. But the Thunder was 68 wins, 16 games ahead. They were ahead of a pack that was almost racing, it seemed like, for second, because you have the Lakers and the Clippers both at 50 wins. The Rockets were the second seed with 52 wins. You had the Timberwolves coming around, I think 49 wins is what they had last year. You had a lot of different teams around that area of same caliber, but OKC just seemed a step and a half, honestly, above those teams in the regular season. Rylan Stiles thinks that the playoffs are somewhere that they can be a separator this year compared to last year, because once again, 68 wins, an NBA title, one of the best teams of all time. How do they one-up this? Other than getting 70 wins in the regular season, I think that a strong playoff run is how this team can deem itself as better than the last one. Like we said, half of the series went to 7 games. We're talking about the Nuggets series and the Pacers series. The Pacers series, especially in my head, I don't think should have went 7 games. The Nuggets was more a chess match because each game was a little bit different moves, maneuvers being thrown at Jokic and such. But a lot of the NBA Finals, I feel like the Thunder, if they would have just shot better, and they would have put it out of question. Like the first game of the series, they lost because they did not shoot the ball well. Like, it's just point blank period. If they can avoid those types of games next year, they will be a better team. And another thing that Styles notes that I do agree with is the second one right here. Internal development is one of the biggest things I think OKC has going for them coming into this next season. Because why? They are led by a very, very young team. This was the second youngest team in the league last year, behind Portland. And they were surrounded by teams picking in the lottery, like the Brooklyn Nets, the Charlotte Hornets and such, age-wise. So this team has younger players on it. Even the MVP, 26 years old, entering his prime, has room to grow. Jalen Williams, a two-way player in this league, has room to grow. His shooting dipped a little bit last year. Was it probably because of his wrist? Maybe so. We take a look at this right here, and we see that Williams averaged 21 points, 5 rebounds, 4 assists, and nearly 2 stocks per game while shooting 44% from the floor, 30% behind the arc, and 78% from the charity stripe in the playoffs. Imagine what the all-NBA wing would have done with a healthy wrist. Now, that's on the speaking to the playoff side of the injury, and that does ring true. Our second player, our Robin to Shai's Batman, was injured, did have that, he needed wrist surgery right after the end of the season. He needed it during the season, but he thugged it out because that's just who J-Dub is. He's a true warrior. But nonetheless, he undisputably, especially in the shooting department, has room to improve. 30% from the three in the playoffs, I mean, largely probably due to that wrist in all of reality. But hopefully that's not lingering next year, and he can really even be a more dominant two-piece to the team. We take a look at his fellow third-year player of the 2022 draft, Chet Holmgren. Prior to his hip injury, albeit just 9 games, Holmgren was posting all-star numbers, turning in 18 points, 9 rebounds, 2 assists, and 3 blocks with a steal per game on 51, 40, 77 shooting splits, getting to the free throw line a jaw-dropping 5 times a night. It's also worth noting that Chet Holmgren missed a lot of the beginning of the season, and like he said after we won the championship, the fans are riding with him, sticking with him through all of that, that mental turmoil. But the point is, if we don't go through that injury period last year where we're rolling hard out with the starting lineup, trying all these new lineup combos at the beginning of the year, still rolling out to, I think we were like around 25-5 at the point that we started getting all of the guys back into the rotation consistently. If we start off stronger, we have the chemistry from last year to build off of this team. There's reasons to think that this team will be better next year. And I personally am very, very excited to see what they can stick on the court. We see on paper that this team, we're seeing them running it back, and they should be better. On paper, this team should be better than next year. But this, to me, is going to be what decides record-wise, even winning-wise, how much better this team is. And the thing was, last year, the Thunder were the bounce-back boys. After losing games, they won 19 of the 21 games following losses in the season last year. That type of mentality of not rolling losses, compounding losses, not getting in a flow of losing, a funk of sorts, that was something that was able to keep the Thunder's head above water. Them so much above the rest of the league last year was the fact that you could not hold them down. They bounced right back up, and they were at it the next night. That type of resilience is also going to be something I think plays a key factor in if they get this done next year and are a better team in the long run, the big picture. We're going to have to see. We're going to have to find out. But I want you guys to predict right now how many wins this team's getting next year. Will they hit the 70 wins mark? If the team's fully healthy, the whole 15-man roster fully healthy all year, with the chemistry they had last year, they got 68 wins missing pieces last year and trying to put it together on the fly. I think that there's a decent chance that if this team is healthy, they could hit the 70 win mark in the regular season. I'm going to say they get 71 wins. I'm hoping no injuries. Let me know what you guys are thinking down low in the comments. Without any further ado, it's the Gabriel Ebersole with Thunder Digest. Make sure you sub up so you can catch me in the next one.